welcome back to our live coverage here at AWS reInvent 2023. I'm A.M. Grabelnian, developer advocate and host for you today. We're going to be going through all kinds of new features, new products, all the things, Gigi. Speaking of, tell the people about you.
I am also one of your hosts today. My name is Gigi Behringer. I'm a senior PM here at AWS within the end user computing group, actually. And we're joined by two product managers here today that I'm excited to have them introduce themselves. If you want to go ahead, Denise.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Denise Young. I'm a product manager on the Step Function service.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carl Comm, product manager on Application Composer.
Well, chat already, when we gave a preview of the upcoming segment, already called out Ryan Coleman and was like, can't wait to see Ryan. There are a lot of people that could be up on this stage, too. There's a lot of people behind App Composer. I've got a long history with all of them, but I'm very happy to meet you two. I haven't met either of you yet, so very excited to talk to you about, look, I don't say this lightly. I don't pick services very often. But this is probably my favorite service.
That's a heavyweight.
Legit.
He did not say that about my prepresentation the first time I was on here. He said I was a good person. Equally. He didn't say the service was as fun.
I am extremely biased, though, towards App Composer. But it truly is one of the most significant things that has impacted my daily life, because I work a lot with infrastructure as code. That's what y'all do. Let's kick off and learn about a little bit what App Composer is used for, where it fits in with infrastructure as code.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of customers, of course, use CloudFormation to build out their applications on AWS. And what we found is that a lot of customers need to be able to up-level that architecture, be able to see the architecture of their application, and be able to work with that architecture in more of a visual format. A lot of us, we're looking at text files, all day long, and it's hard to kind of map how everything relates to each other. And that's exactly what Application Composer is for. It's a visual builder for your CloudFormation applications, allowing you to visualize your architecture from the source of truth, so it's never out of date. And then it allows you for you to make quick edits and quickly build out architectures, extending applications and building entirely new ones in a visual format. Even better, all of that is updated in real time to your CloudFormation, so your IAC is always up to date with what you're doing in the visual system.
Yeah,
very cool.
That's awesome. I mean, I'm not a visual person, right? I have trouble visualizing things. I really do.
Trouble seeing too.
Yes, I do have trouble seeing, but I also have trouble seeing in my mind. When people ask you picture this, right? I'm not a very visual person, so to have something like this to translate all of that text, like you're talking about, Carl, into something visual, really has changed a lot for me, right? Because you don't often understand all the pieces of your architecture just from a CloudFormation template until you can see it like this, right?
Yeah.
And I know we're going to see a demo of how it works and everything, which I'm very excited. But what's been going on lately with App Composer? I know y'all have done a lot this year.
Yeah, so what we've done, and we've introduced Workflow Studio, which is a tool that you use to build visual workflows or serverless workflows for step functions. We also call them state machines. So customers in our console love using Workflow Studio because it's so easy to build. There's drag and drop interface. So again, for those that can't picture it in their head, Workflow Studio is great. You drag and drop, you configure using built-in forms, and what happens is a graphical representation of your workflow describing ASL, or Amazon States Language, which is what we use to build workflows, is visualized for you. Now, customers really love this. They're able to prototype really quickly, build workflows very quickly. But when they wanted to move these workflows into their infrastructure as code, so into their applications, it was hard. So before today, they had to go through this manual migration process. And as you know, with anything manual, there could be errors. It might be repetitive. And for someone that's new to this space and new to infrastructure as code, it could be difficult. So what we've done is we've moved Workflow Studio into Application Composer.
Very nice.
Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah, I know I'm like I told you, I'm very biased towards App Composer. I host a show with one of the colleagues on your team, Anna Spies, so I get a lot of news about App Composer direct from her. And I know y'all launched earlier this year support for an enormous amount of visualizing AWS services too.
We have, yeah. It's been a busy year. In addition to the wonderful integration that you're going to see today that we did with the Step Functions team, we also expanded support from our 13 enhanced components, is what we talk about, and I'll show you what that means, all the way to all 1,100 plus CloudFormation resources. So
Wow.
if you want to build an application Composer, you can do it. We now support every single CloudFormation resources that's available.
Yeah, one of my favorite things too that I don't think people initially realize when they see App Composer, they think, oh, great, I can drag and drop and create. But you can also take an existing template and load it, and then it visualizes that template for you too. That's one of my favorite things to use App Composer for.
This might be a silly question, but humor me. So when you say you can drag and drop a template, we're drag and dropping CloudFormation templates, or what kind of templates are our options?
So you can load in an existing template. So you have an existing CloudFormation template. You can load it up from your local file system and visualize that within Application Composer. But then you can also have a library of all of the available CloudFormation resources that CloudFormation offers, and then drag that into your canvas, is what we call it. And that will add it to your template automatically, and it'll connect things together for you. We'll show all of that and how it works. But yeah, basically, if you want to work in a visual format, either building a new application or working with an existing template, you can do either.
Got it. Could you drag and drop multiple templates to stack them and have them combine?
So right now, it works with one template at a time. Yeah.
So you can't make a superpower template with.
Yeah, you can't have like a template of
superhuman,
templates.
yeah, template of templates. And what is the sharing capability? So if I can log in, I have access to all of my CloudFormation templates. Is it possible to share that over to a colleague who maybe has different permissions or a different account that they work in?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple ways to do that. You can just share the template itself, and of course somebody else can load it up into their Application Composer and visualize it exactly the same way that you're seeing it in your account. However, we also can take that application architecture view and export it to an image. And what that's really useful for is putting it into a wiki or adding it into like a change set for a pull request. Or reviewing it with going through like an architecture review with another team. This is a way for you to be able to visualize the architecture, again, based on the source of truth, so it's never out of date, and be able to use that in a collaborative way with teams that may not understand the CloudFormation that you've written, may not be able to understand the complexity of it, but up-leveling that into a visual format allows for anyone in your organization to understand how this application works, provide feedback, and do whatever you need to do with them.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you already teased us a little bit with enhanced resources versus standard resources. Enhanced resources, obviously one of my favorite things about App Composer 2, are the new the new step function integration enhanced resources as well.
They are, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you want to tell us? Obviously, I know what it is,
Yeah,
but
maybe tell us what that
what
means.
an enhanced resource is and how cool it is.
A lot of the resources that Application Composer works with can apply things like best practices for you, and also integrate resources with other resources by simply dragging a line between them. You'll see this in the demo, but basically it means that you no longer have to understand exactly what IAM permissions that are needed to facilitate the interaction between resources, or how, say, an SQSQ or a step functions task will invoke a Lambda. We handle all of that for you. We figure out exactly what's needed to implement the intent that you express within Application Composer's canvas. So you just work at the architecture level. We figure out what it means at the low-level configuration. So that's what an enhanced resource does. A standard resource is the low-level resource. It is the CloudFormation resource. You're building the YAML configuration. You're doing all the references to other resources. Whereas in the enhanced, you don't have to think about that at all.
You see why I like that more? You don't have to think about it at all.
I love that.
Sounds
It's easier for you.
like an AM feature, right?
And me. As someone who no longer, messes around with CloudFormation templates, this makes me feel a little bit more empowered to get in there and build some things.
It's seriously great. So do we want to hop in and check out what it looks like?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's pull up Carl's screen. We'll see it change here in just a bit when they can see it. There we go.
All right. So this is the canvas. What we're going to do first is build out a little quick prototype of an application. So let's say I've got an application that is going to have an endpoint that triggers a Lambda function that works with a table. Well, I can very quickly drag in an API gateway, I can drag in a function, and then let's grab there it is, the DynamoDB table. Very quickly can connect these things together. And now I have a functional prototype. Now, obviously, I haven't put in any function code in yet, but what this has done is generated a CloudFormation template that sets up all of the open API specs for me. It sets up all of the event source mappings. It sets up the environment variables. It sets up the IAM policies, the log groups. All of this is in place by me simply dragging these resources onto the canvas and connecting them together. Now I've got something that I can go in and add in the function code, which, by the way, we've skeletoned for you in the back end. It's in order to have a truly functional application. Now, one of the fun things that we have just launched is the state machine, the workflow integration with Workflow Studio. So what you can do is drag in a state machine here, and I'm going to go into this API gateway, and I'm actually going to add in a new route. So let's do a get on a workflow, and we'll save that. And I want this workflow to trigger the state machine. Now, I want to develop my state machine. What you can do now is have this edit in Workflow Studio. This loads up the Step Functions Workflow Studio within Application Composer. You're not being directed to another application. It's within the Application Composer itself. Now, let's say that I am going to add in a new item here. I'm going to add in that we're going to update this DynamoDB table. And my table name is Carl's Cool Table. I'm going to use a definition substitution here in order to reference an external resource. So once I do that, I can now save this and return to Application Composer. And you'll see that that item, that put item, is now available in my canvas for me to drag a connection to this DynamoDB table, and there we have it. Now I've got a state machine workflow that is now integrated to interact with this table that I've just added into my application. So
that came in and updated the template. That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. I love it.
Right now, all of this exists within the browser application. So what if we actually want this to be on our local file system? Well, Application Composer has the ability to have something that we call a local sync. This connects the application to my local file system. So if I come in here, I'm just going to create let's go over here real quick, and I'm going to create on-air demo project, and I'm going to select that folder. Yes, you may activate it, and you may save changes. Now, what has happened is this is now linked to my local file system, and if I go into my on-air demo, I can see that my template is now on my local file system, and as I make changes in the canvas, it is going to automatically sync to that local template file on my file system. That means that I can use that local template file to work with my IDE. I can work with all of my local development systems. I don't have to replace anything to use Application Composer. It works in conjunction with the workflows that I already have.
So I was fumbling through your click-through demo on the console, which is actually, I'd highly recommend if you're watching this demo and you just want to get started on what it looks like. There's a walkthrough button when you first go to it. Obviously, I haven't opened it in a long time, at least in that AWS account. But what I thought was interesting was that you could have it side by side automatically updating your IDE while you're updating these workflows, so you can see the code appear instantaneously.
Yeah, it's an instant sync.
It's like what we're seeing here on the console, but then also where everything else lives, and it probably gives a little bit of grounding to what changes are actually being made to your code. Yeah,
absolutely. So one thing I did want to show you here is we have this functionality where I can take the ASL file, which is the kind of DSL for defining a workflow for a step function state machine. And I can say, use this as an external file. And if I save this and I go over here, what you'll see is now there's this new file called state machine ASL. Instead of embedding the workflow definition in the CloudFormation template itself, I now have that as an external file that I can check into my repo and manage it as an entirely separate definition file. So that's really, really, really helpful. Cool. So what we've just been able to do is prototype out an application really quickly. Like if we're able to scaffold something, get something working very, very quickly. But what about existing applications? So what we can do here is I'm going to start a new project. And I'm going to, again, whoops. Just refresh there.
Yeah, one of my favorite things.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Oh.
That's all right. We'll take you off screen
Oh, no.
and you can log back in.
Thank you.
While you're doing that, one of my favorite demos I've ever been a part of, Ryan and Anna were hanging out with me at a game day, and they were demoing App Composer, actually prior to it launching, and for an internal audience. And they did a race where they I believe Anna was handwriting the CloudFormation YAML, and Ryan was using App Composer, and you'll never guess who won.
Yeah, it's a toss-up, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was Ryan by like a full 10 minutes. It was incredible, and Anna even knew exactly what it was. Very simple. It was like a API gateway with a Lambda function. It wasn't very complex in terms of the architecture, but it still was by miles Ryan winning.
Yeah, so I think my screen's ready here.
All right.
So bring that back up. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up an existing project. Yep, view the file. Save the changes. So now I've taken an existing application, and I've been able to visualize its architecture and see all the relationships between the state machines, the queues, the topics, the Lambda functions, and how all of these things are integrated together into my application's architecture. But let's say I want to update this. So I'm going to take this child state machine, and I'm going to open up Workflow Studio, and I'm going to add a couple of things here. So first, I'm going to put an item here, over here, and then I am also going to do put events. And so I've just extended out my workflow, and again, Carl's cool table. Save that.
Very interested what's stored in Carl's cool table.
Yeah. What are we?
It's
what are
super
we keeping
cool.
in that?
Apparently
Dynamo DB
inventory there.
And then
you
this
go.
one here, this one. Yeah. Carl's cool events. All
Carl
right.
is cool. That is what I'm gathering from this.
Oh,
It's seeping into my brain. So when you see an error, right? You just got an error. What does that experience look like?
actually, I think I missed that error message.
Or you navigated away from it?
Yeah. But actually, I think we're okay here. So, oh, no, there is an error. Do you happen to see the error?
Maybe you can just click on it and it should.
Oh, see, that's super helpful.
It's an express state machine. Let's remove that step.
Oh.
Yeah, so step functions, we have two types of workflows. One of our optimized integrations with a sync. So we have different types of integration types. For express workflow, the .sync does not work, which is why it was failing. But those error messages should help you.
And if you want to learn more about state machines and step functions and all of the good stuff that y'all have been working on, that segment's up next.
It's coming.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Cool. So one thing I did want to show you just really quickly. So I was able to extend out the state machine and connect it into a new table that I've added into the resource. We also have this thing called Change Inspector, where we'll help you understand what changes we just made to your CloudFormation template. So over here, I was able to update this reference in the definition substitution of my workflow, workflow ASL to this table reference. The Application Composer made this reference for me. I didn't have to think about how I'm going to map that definition substitution to this table. I didn't have to think about the IAM policies that were going to be necessary to facilitate that interaction. All of that is entirely handled by Application Composer, and because we don't hide things, we show you exactly what changes we're making in a way that you can easily understand.
That is awesome. I'm still very delighted by the error message experience. I know. The fact that you can just click on it and see what's wrong, and then you can see the changes that you've made. If you're working on this with someone, can someone else see the changes you've made if they have access to the same
if
template?
they have access to the same account, they can go in and kind of see those changes.
Got
as
it.
well,
So that's
yeah.
that's really helpful for collaboration as well.
Yeah, we definitely, you're still going to use this with Git. Like, you're still going to have your same Git experience that you have today. So this is really more for like making your local changes to your template and preparing a change for your team to ultimately review. But Application Composer, of course, loading up an existing template that is ready for review is going to make that so much easier, especially if you just export the architecture and embed that in. That really helps.
That's awesome.
Now, Carl, I've got in the notes here too some things that I didn't know about, not related maybe to this, about standard resources. So first, standard resources and enhanced resources can work together on the canvas now?
So they can. So let's take a look at that. So what we can do here is if I pull up, say, an event bus, and I add this into, you know what, I'm going to try this integration again.
Maybe try it with the parent state machine. Should.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. That's exactly what I should do.
This is teamwork.
This is good teamwork. This is the collaboration I was talking about.
That's right. That's right.
All right, so here we have much larger workflow here. So I'm going to add it in over here, and I'm going to go here. That's not the right syntax.
It is, I'm very impressed the amount of typing included in this demo. Every time I do a demo, I try really hard to not have to type so I don't misspell something in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And Carl's cool table is making his way around.
Yeah, that's true. It's everywhere.
It's a lot of pressure to type things out with the right syntax every
I do
time.
try. So, all right, we just added in this put events over here. So I can go into this resource pane over here and go down into the one that I just created. Now, what I can do here is create a ref, and it'll auto-complete which standard resources that I can now integrate with. And now I hit save, and these two are integrated. Now, currently, we don't show the reference, the connected line between like that event and this resource, but they are integrated, and I had that autocomplete help me do that. This is a standard resource, so when I go in here, I am going to use standard CloudFormation configuration. I'm going to be building the YAML for that resource. It doesn't have that curated details experience that you saw with like Lambda and State Machine. So this is you're still going to working with the raw CloudFormation configuration. But yeah, this is how the enhanced resource, and particularly the state machine integration, can work directly with standard resources in Application Composer.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
That's like one of the coolest things I've seen that y'all have added so far. Other than obviously the step function workflow integration. I mean, that's incredible.
Very cool.
I also see here too, and as these templates grow, right, it could be kind of difficult to know which parts are connected to what other parts. So it says here that common resources in a service are grouped together. Can you show us a little bit of that, Carl?
So actually, let's do that. Let's open up an entirely new project here. If I come over here and I go to, whoop, that's not what I meant to do. I'll go this one is what I meant. Oh. Did I just select the right run?
Live demo,
Live demo.
You never know.
No pressure.
Yeah, I don't know why it's not finding the template, but to tell you what, I'm going to create a new project because I think that's probably the problem.
Okay.
It's all good. I'm curious in the chat if we have any final questions. I know we're getting close to
we got about a minute left.
our time here with you guys. So if you are watching and you have any questions, pop them in the chat so we can get them answered quickly at the end of this.
Can you speed run it, Carl?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know why it's not finding this file, but
no worries.
It's okay.
Well, yeah, what I was going to show is my favorite template. It's over 3,000 lines of the YAML that is completely visualized using nothing but standard resources all grouped together. So the grouping works very, very well to help you understand how common resources within a service are grouped together and relate to each other.
Which is very helpful because, as I said, once you get into much larger application, you can get lost in the sauce.
Very quickly. Yeah.
Anyway, so we got about 30 seconds left. Where do I go get started?
Yeah, so log into your console and navigate over to Application Composer. Either follow the demo or just start creating a project and hacking away.
All right, it's that easy.
Thanks,
That easy.
guys. This was
Okay.
awesome.
Thank you both, Carl and
Thank
Denise.
you.
Hope to
Thank
see
you.
you again.
Yes.